Hey guys, Lance here with Providential Studios. So, I'm going to start a little something every week called Tech Talk, and we're going to talk about different things. Like this week, we are going to talk about guitar strings. Um, there's, a lot of different manufacturers, a lot of different brands. Some manufacturers make the strings for another brand and they put their brand on it. We don't need to go into any of those details. Um, But I think it's really good to talk about strings. There's this huge misconception with strings that you don't have to change them, or, there's people that buy guitars all the time and they never change the strings. They don't realize that strings have a lifespan to them. And then we're especially talking non-coated strings. So non-coated strings like the D'Addario nickel wound straight up XLs, they have a life to them. So if you're playing a lot, like if you string up your electric or your acoustic and you play a lot, I recommend changing your strings at least once a month, um, just to keep things fresh. And if you're learning, definitely be changing those once a month because you're training your ear. So don't let the strings get to that dead spot before changing them when you're learning to play guitar. That's just my advice. Some people may think otherwise, but I believe that when you're training your ear, you want to train it properly. And so if you've got strings that have been on there for 6 months and they're non-coated strings and they're losing their tonality, hard to keep in tune, any of those things, it's a string issue. You can take it to any local music store or learn to do it yourself. We might go through that again. I know there's plenty of those things out there on YouTube. And today I just want to talk about strings and string gauges and how often to change them. I change my strings once a month unless I have a coated set of strings on. So that's the difference. So you have non-coated strings, like this is the example here. And then you also have a coated string, which are like these elixirs here. So what the coating does is they put a coating over the string so that it will enhance life, right? Because if you leave your guitars out, like the one back behind me, you've got contaminants in the air. You've got, we all have different DNA makeup as far as our sweat and the, how corrosive it is. And so when you have non-coated strings and you have really acidic sweat, you're going to burn through strings a little faster. And hence why having a coated string is very nice because it coats that string, giving it extra life. So they do last 3 to 5 times longer. You can get more out of a set of coated strings if that's what you like. And then if you get, like I know a lot of people who like the elixirs here, right? And they get, elixirs have, and most companies have a thicker or thinner coating. Now, there are a lot of companies that want to go with just the thinnest coating because guys don't want to have that shedding all over their guitar, and some people don't like the feel. But some people like a thick coating because it quiets down the tech talk. It quiets down the fret talk on the guitar. So some people like that, especially with acoustics, and that fret talk is just the squeaking when you're changing positions or you're moving up and down the fretboard. So that being said, some people like that. Some people also, I've got friends who love a coated string because their sweat is very acidic. I play coated strings on an acoustic because I don't play it that often. And I like non-coated for my electric, mainly because I don't know, it's just a preference for me. And my preference for most of my guitars is the D'Addario NYXLs. I love these strings. They keep in tune well. But this isn't an episode of telling you what to buy. I strongly encourage you to go to your guitar store to, especially if you have a local shop. Let's try to keep those things moving and running and keep them open. But even if you're someone that gets on Sweetwater or whatever that may be, try out a few different brands of strings and a few different gauges to find out what you like. The thing with strings is we can talk about what they're made of. We can talk, that talk between versus coated versus uncoated. But the big thing comes down to personal preference. That's it's what do you like? Some people, they they get great life and love the tone out of Ernie Ball slinkies. Some people like D'Addario. Some people like Fender strings. Some people like the Gibson strings. Some people like, and the list just goes on. I mean, there's DRs, there's all sorts of strings brands out there. And for me, I've tried a lot of them. I've tried the Dunlap electric guitar strings. I did Ernie Balls for years. I've done, I used to hate D'Addario strings. I used to not like them at all. But I got to where I really like them for whatever. I don't know if it was a bad batch or whatever, but it's the only string that I play now because I found what I really liked. For a lot of years, I played DRs. So I just recommend to you, it's not one's better than the other. It's which one do you like better. And I think it pays. I mean, strings are cheap enough. It pays for you to try a couple of different sets from different brands and different gauges. And there is a difference in string gauge. There's plenty of YouTube videos out there too. Rick Beato did a great one on string gauges and what they sound like. But again, it comes down to your feel, your personal preference, what you like. But the biggest thing is that you find what works for you and that you change them often. I'm not saying that you should change them every week or anything like that. That can be kind of an expensive endeavor. But every 2 weeks, once a month for sure, if you're playing a lot. Now, if you're not playing a lot, that's okay. You may be able to swing into that second, once every 2 months. But even then, the contaminants from the air are getting those strings. And if they're left on tension for a long time, and there's also other things you can do if you like non-coated strings to keep the longevity up, washing your hands. There's many different string lubricants and string cleaners and string things out there that will help protect the life of your non-coated strings if that's what you prefer. So there's a lot of cool options out there, guys. Again, this is the first episode of Tech Talk. We're going to keep going with lots of cool things with this. I'm going to share some of my advice and some of the things that I do and what I've learned in my journey here. I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope that this was very beneficial as you look into string gauges. Thanks.